Hello everyone, and welcome to GRIS. This is Leo History, I'm Adam, as always. And this game continues to be amazing and incredibly pretty. One thing just before we get in, this is just like the pause menu, right? This isn't even the main menu, but something that's super cool here is that they're using like inverted sounds. They go away as soon as we end up here, but they actually were inverting synth hits for a lot of that sound, which gives that really ethereal effect, which is just very cool. Anyway, we're supposed to go somewhere. I don't remember where somewhere is. Okay, so that's how we turn into a brick. I switched over to controller this time instead of using mouse and keypad, so the controls are just a little bit different. Woo, Raptorus, we literally only just started, so you didn't miss anything. And that's where we came from there, so let's see, where are we going this time? We came from down here, didn't we? So we must need to go over this way. God, I love how pretty this game is, even though it's like washed out totally at this point. Right? In so many ways, it is just washed out. Yep, here it is. Lots of very dark colors here. You know, rains, blues, some greens. The reds are all very dull, so it still is, you know, brighter, but still, in a lot of ways, a very dark game. It's being so careful with its color theory. Oh, and by the way, one correction from last stream, YouTube comments very kindly pointed out that the development team is actually Spanish, which means that the name of the game should be pronounced GRIS. My apologies for them for screwing it up in two different ways. And down we go. Oh, by the way, in this section I should say, mild thalassophobia warning, so if you don't like lots of water and being very underwater, this section may get a bit rough. Look at how cute they are. Oh man. Thank you so much for the $8 subscription. Or for the $8 donation, Leander. I appreciate that so much. Before I start our final descent to madness, before we travel where all sanity goes to die. Before we descend into the deepest depths of the meta plot. Yup. Because if anyone doesn't know, this weekend will be the finale of our main playthrough of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Aww. Let's remember that there is good, that there is sanity, that there is hope, that there are good games worthy of our attention, that there are narratives worthy of being on our mind. Remember that these ones are the times we spend actually playing games. And thank you, while we're at it, Blues, for the 7 months of Tier 1 sub. I appreciate that so much too. Have a little tiny dingling bell. Whee! And there'll be more incoming. Okay. Let's go! Yes. Also, other business note before we get too far out. Everyone has a new emote if you are subscribed to the channel. I sorted it out on the Discord after last stream because I forgot to do it live. But you now have a Ludohis sheep for use for our particularly egregious everythings. This game should not ever need that sheep, but a certain game we know and love? Question mark? It certainly does. Anyway, let's keep going down. Whoa. The water's upside down. Look at the tree. And one more $8 donation, Leander. So I say, my comrades, let us gather our strength and steel ourselves before going into the fray one final time. Put a big ol' asterisk in that final, cause, DLC. If I make noise, it, 1, echoes, and 2, it let things show up. Look at it. It's so peaceful. I mean, I always have a soft spot for, like, cave environments in games and just in general, because caves are very good. Being inside a cave, just a really nice cave with all these stalactites and stalagmites and all the weird things that grow in caves, is incredibly surreal. And if you get the chance, I highly recommend. But it means in cave environments, right? I mean, this looks and feels almost nothing like an actual cave. But that's okay, because it doesn't need to. And interestingly, you know, the ruins are preserved here, right? All the way down, the aesthetic still preserves sort of its ruination. And all the weird things this ruination does. And I think this is probably the point where it gives away, if it wasn't clear, that this is really much more of a psychological ruin than it is a physical one. Apart from, you know, it changing colors, doing all sorts of stuff, as we unlock new colors in the world space. But also it's upside down, right? It's just upside down and there's water. There's a band of water preserved, defying all gravity. But it just... It continues... Oh. It continues to impress me. How thought out these game environments are. And right, caves often, you know, don't look like this at all. When there is light, it's always this very orange light, because that's, the bulbs are easier to get in, and it's less damaging to the cave environments. Because there's very little natural light coming in. But a lot of the rocks appear very, like, orangey and things. This sort of blue is just not a thing. But what it does communicate is, 1, depth, and 2, sort of sublimity to it. That I think the music really tries to reinforce. I mean, listen to that bass. And little specks of fun colors and stuff. Look at them. And they make little chirps. And here we go. Make little noises. All the way down, this game just never fails to delight me. Ooh, that is an interesting topic while I try and do platforming. Kappa Crab asks, do I have any advice for doing historical and cultural analysis in video games? So yeah, I've got kind of two pieces of advice. I guess, or I should say two advice for the game itself. The most obvious piece of advice is read broadly, because there's no sense in talking about adaptation if you don't know what it might be pulling from. And so right, this show ends up being really easy because I have a lot of experience in history, and as I can learn more, do more, and bring on people who know more, I can talk about more. But until then, I'm sticking more or less to what I know and what I feel comfortable talking about. But for how to approach the game itself, there's kind of two things that are really important to keep in mind. The first one is to assume things are deliberate, right? Assuming things are errors, or that they just didn't care, is sometimes true, and sometimes that's the best explanation you'll have. But don't go in assuming that, because it leads you to think things are not important when they might be. And the other is to approach the game in good faith. Right? The good faith in something, like Assassin's Creed has kind of run itself dry to some extent or another. And that's not necessarily a great thing, though. The game sure has made some interesting choices. But go in assuming the game is trying to do the thing the game's marketing claims it is trying to. And go into the game thinking that they believed that they made something worth making. And if you do that, that leads you to start approaching the game as a thing that can be analyzed, right? It's not mindless media, it's a thing where decisions are being made. And those decisions have weight to them. But not always obvious what that weight is, but there is pretty much always weight being put into those decisions, and with that weight, there's room for analysis, and for critique, and to think about what that actually means and does. So at least assume that, because I think we can all agree, right? You don't have to spend very long looking at this game to believe that every single frame of it is... except, maybe when I'm spamming turn. And even that, it's a nice little tap dance. But overall, right, I think it's safe to look at this game for about 2 seconds, and you'll decide that it's something beautiful and artful. And when it's beautiful and artful, it's hard to not, take it seriously. And to think that the medium is worth taking more seriously than just entertainment. Well, see if I can make this. I don't think I can. I think I'm very shiny. Whoa, that was weird. What happened there? Oh, that is interesting. Oh, duh. Interesting. Bushfeet, yes, I really, really enjoy GRIS. It is... I mean, I played it when it first came out, and it is one of my absolute favorites. It makes a good case for me to be like one of the best games ever made. Even if it's not perfect, and it's not. That didn't hit. That's... Ah, I see. I figured that out. So yeah, right, I adore this game. I think it does really interesting things with what it means to be, I guess, history. In a way that a lot of games fail to. Right, because it's easy to say that, you know, this game isn't trying to be historical. But my lens is that I am a professional historian, or semi-professional historian, I should say. So right, this is what I do, this is how I approach media. And so, if I try and think about how, in what way is this game historical, then, you know, the things that stand out are like, well, look at this pedestal. And some sort of offering bowl above it, some sort of thing that has meaning. Is this either ritual context or something else? But clearly in a state of ruin. It's cracked, it's crumbling, things are growing out of it, and have been doing so for a long time. So, this is not an inhabited space. And part of the question becomes, why is it not inhabited? Like, right? What history does this place occupy? Okay, that does not get me high enough up, so if I do this, does that stay? That does stay. Hilarious. Oh, absolutely, Kappa Crab. I think that would be an awesome thing. That is I know very little of broadly African history and culture, though it's an area I certainly want to learn more, so being able to, like, bring that expertise in, I think would be something really, really awesome. And hey look, this space I just identified as a ritual context just unlocks something for us. We are now fish. And as we delve into the underwater, I mean, right, still have clear signs of habitation, still have clear signs of this is environment made by and for people, or for a person in particular. But, and I mean here, right, it's an upside down place, which is impossible architecture, but really cool history, or I guess really cool design. But now, right, another thing just here is a nice, gorgeous focus on the fan shape. Whether that's our triangle, or these guys' little wobbly semicircles of cuteness, or the fan-shaped kind of anemones and ferns. All the way through, right? Very simple geometry, very stylized art, but one that carries with it a lot of meaning, right? This game adores the aesthetics of geometry. All the way through, right? From the first place with the little bronze works and the windmills. Geometry is a thing that carries a lot of weight in this game. And you're seeing it preserved. It's just such a coherent vision used to such a radically different end. And I love it. And now, by the way, we're actually reaching below inhabited space, I think. We'll see if that continues, but right... This one was in a pot, but not all of them were. And then none of these were. And none of these were. And the walls are turning into coral. And stalactites are growing farther and farther up. And now we're entering like a kelp forest. Hey, Leander, am I wrong? They are both a wobbly semicircle and they are incredibly cute. Also, just gorgeous. And new music styles. Really twangy stuff. Interesting that's paired with underwater. I wonder how much that owes to kind of like old Nintendo water levels. That's a sunfish. That's just straight up a sunfish. I love him. Hello, friend. He just turns around. I also totally misread him as a shark at first, though, so, like, no worries there. But instead he was wholesome. He's a big chunk. But yeah, I think it's safe to say, like, we are way out of... What? I said stalactites. There's, like, one column up above, but Right? The stalactites there. And I don't think we've seen any stalagmites recently. Right, because that's a column. That's all the way down. Okay, there's a few stalagmites. Yes, Barry Mike, that's correct. Stalagmites grow from the ground up via limestone deposition, and stalactites grow from the roof and go down as water drips through and eats away at the limestone above it. And then it drips down and leaves more limestone, and the stalagmite grows up. Oh, yeah. Mites go from the ground up, tights go from the top down. They're both pretty. Interestingly, right, this game also has impossible geology, because there's no stalagmite forming underneath the stalactite. But that's unimportant. Right, it's all aesthetic. Right now, everything is aesthetic. And it's so good at aesthetic. Well, that was interesting. It ran away from us. It's getting awfully blue. Please come back. I mean, yeah. Aesthetic. They also don't grow sideways, but we're not going to let that stop us. Because we've already had impossible geographies, impossible architecture, impossible biology. What's a little bit more of impossible terrain? For the sake of something this pretty. So yeah, they shouldn't form underwater, guys. The reason why is that in order for these to form, you need water dripping. Something to pick up minerals from the limestone as it works its way through the ground, enter an open space, and then drip. And then be reabsorbed. If it's just constantly in water, they won't do that because nothing drips. The limestone just gets eaten away across the board at a fairly continuous rate. So, yeah, it absolutely should not be the case that there are stalactites and stalagmites forming underwater. But that's okay. We like bizarreness anyway. Also, we can't actually walk through there. Then we can turn into fish. Then move fast. Oh, well that didn't work. Become fish. Savage. It would mostly imply that this place got flooded, which I think is reasonable, given that there are ruined states here. But I think, I think trying to construct a full and real architecture for this place as if it followed normal human laws is not necessarily wise. Right? It's not playing by our rules. And the alteration of those has meaning, but it's not playing by our rules. Water doesn't do that. So, I think while it's a super good question, and in almost any other game, that is exactly the right kind of thinking, right? Because that's paying attention to the environment. What decisions are being made? What things does that say about the world? Assume things aren't errors, right? Assume if there's a stalactite or a stalagmite here, and the whole place is underwater, that's not an error, and what does that tell us about the world? Well, the answer is, well, the place must have gone flooded, and that's supported by the things being built. In this exact game, though, because there's the small detail of gravity doesn't work right. Also, we turned from a person into a fish. Splatoon, eat your heart out. I think it's wiser to look for some other angle of interpretation. Alright, I don't particularly have that angle yet, because in a lot of ways this is very, very psychological and intentionally hard to interpret. Because, remember, the whole game is sort of a mood piece. It's a very, very well-made mood piece. But in every way, right, this is just every level is the process of healing in some way, and one of the stages of grief. And so now as we're progressing, you know, we are becoming in some way other than what we were. We are healing. Oh, they'll come with us. Well, thank you, friends. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's deliberately hard to interpret, and right, this is overall something meant to be very much felt and very much not analyzed and cleanly understood. So if we do this, it gets us just high enough. Exactly, Leander. And right, that's not the same thing as saying that physics is not a valid approach, right? Thinking about thinking about why and how something moves away from real physics is not less interesting. It's not less valid. It's just a different way of reading the text. I think well, that did not work. I think it's just that the circumstances of this game in particular sort of limit the utility to which that... yeah, limit the, or has limited utility in trying to interpret this game. There's the words I was looking for. Right, it is a choice that's being made, exactly. And it's a choice that's worth interrogating, and it's worth taking seriously as a choice. But once that choice has been interrogated, I don't think it's something that retains a whole lot of analytical value. Now, I haven't really thought a whole lot about the ways in which the game is engaging in, like, geography and almost sort of Yeah, very almost MC Escher, like impossible geographies and impossible architectures, impossible shapes. It's not actually going all the way there because you can navigate the space correctly, right? This is still obeying ordinary rules of motion, but it's approaching something like that. And I think, actually, Escher is a really, really cool comparison point, in part because just so much happens, with architecture in, like, Escher paintings. Right, there is a lot of architecture. And a lot of architecture that behaves weirdly. So yeah, I don't know, I haven't... That's an angle that may be interesting to dig into in a little while. If we can kind of figure out some more coherent thoughts on it. Now that's an interesting dilemma. So we can go up here. But I have no way to get up there. And if without a way to get up there, I'd actually have a way to get into the shiny up there. Let's see what's below it. The entire thing again. Yep. Again, not really a possible... Oh. Well, that's not traversable. Okay, and these are traversable. Okay. Got it. I see. Okay, so these are traversable in the same way that up there is. Interestingly, actually super interestingly, right, I was going to say that like, this place, the reflection is not ruined, unlike the reality. Right, if we think of this as the real and the unreal. But that's actually not true. It still is just as cracked. Right, there's a crack there. The top's broken out, half the window's gone. There's a hole right here, and the arches are damaged. So it's not undamaged, it's just less damaged. Really cool puzzle. It's just, I think that makes it one layer harder to interpret. Woo, and now that these are gone, hey, that's what I wanted to see. Now we can go up. And we get that. Then we turn to a thing and... boop. On our merry way. And now we come back out into the center again, which, by the way, has an urn. Nope. One shy. Okay, this is very red. And now that's very black. I don't feel great about this. Yeah, okay, I can't actually go down that way. Because apparently, our character also does not feel good about this. Which, fair. Can't fault them for that one. Means we need to look for one more path, right? You're being mean. Well, that was easy. Yeah, I mean, I'd say this whole thing is very disorienting, except it's not actually. Right, it's not a disorienting environment. Unlike some games that try really hard to, like, physically confuse what direction is up, what is down. I mean, you know what's up. You know what's up, you know what's down, you know what's side to side. It's a turtle. Hello, friend. And now we're through the darkness. Thank you, friend. You're just gonna take a nap now? Okay. I love you. Oof. This music. Yeah, this might be one of the that might be one of the greatest water level soundtracks ever. I mean, right? It's got all of the vibes. Kinda spooky, kinda synthy, but then also just Oh, now it's just water. Yeah, little bit of Vangelis. Very much that, like, you know, focus on style almost over everything. Right? There's not a piece. It has a good melody, but the melody is very, very focused on sort of mood. Oh, this was bigger. Oh, this was a lot bigger. So you know what I said about, thinking about this as real architecture doesn't work? Right? This isn't real space. This is all psychology. Go, 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 go. Come on! It's now a big eel. Shit. Oh. There's now 2 wheels. This is worse. There's now twice as many of them. Oh gosh. This is way worse. I still don't feel comfortable, but I feel better. Yeah, my controller just like rumbled. I feel very uneasy. Let's maybe try and find our way out of the darkness here, eh? You know, the soundtrack also, like, has a lot in common with some of Nier Automata's soundtrack. That's the one it's been reminding me of recently. That piano hit is also in City Ruins. And it's cool that that's a motive that's showing up, and I think it's one that, like, intentionally, let's just run. I have no fear. I have lots of fear. Who am I kidding? At least it lets me go, though. Yeah. That's what I was about. But now it lets me... I think I got there. That's awkward. I didn't spam A. Come on, I believe. Turtle! So that is one of my favorite moments of this game. Right, that was the moment I gave the warning for about, like, half an hour ago. Because, you know, dark spooky caves underwater is all of the... For some people, is a very, very, very bad time. Understandably so. But oh man. It's just... They know how to make moments. Also, you know, so a lot happened there. We found the statue of the person we lost. And nearly came back to the full creative power that we had. And literally, like, generative power. Which I think is represented here most visibly by the color yellow. Right? We haven't really seen yellow this game. Yellow has been a very rare thing. Light has been blue or white. We've had reds. But we haven't really had yellows. So that's kind of our full generative... I mean, the full palette is generative, but that's really generative capacity. And we couldn't. Not without assistance from the turtle having kind of everything else. Right, yeah, we've got blues, we had greens, we had reds. Now we have yellows as well. A full palette. Just see what we can make. And now that we've gotten that, you know, suddenly these things aren't... I mean, they aren't physical. Right? I don't think you can ever say that this is a physical landscape. I don't think the music allows you to plausibly interpret it as a physical landscape. And then, we can literally fly through all of this. The only parts that are physical and literal are, like, the crystals. These gorgeous, gorgeous quartz crystals. That is by design. It's just... So good. This game is so good, guys. Hey, we come up here again. Boop. There we go. And, hey, we're fish again. Hello, fish. Interesting. What's over here? Oh, it's just another way. Okay. Yeah, Ark of the Conclave, I love that trope too, right? It's such a video game thing, but it's also so good. You swim down, you swim out of the water, you start entering freefall. Like, a movie can't do that, because that's not without some really fancy either computer work, in which case you'll probably tell, right? You can pretty much tell. Though, I mean, it's only like Interstellar tries. And, like, art can do it, but still art doesn't show motion in the same way. Oh, this is apparently solid, even though the other one wasn't. Okay. That's cool, I guess. Yeah, Raptors, I also agree. Another thing I haven't figured out, because, right, there is so much of this game that I have not figured out, and that I don't necessarily want to, quote, figure out. Right, I'm okay at not necessarily understanding all the ways this game uses iconography as part of itself. Because I love it so much anyway, because even if I don't necessarily know why they made the choices they did, sometimes I'm also totally okay just letting it be with they made choices that work, and I don't know why they worked, but I'm glad they did. I mean, we're gonna try and figure them out, because it's fun that way. But also, I am okay with not having definitive answers here. Also, another super video gamey thing, just swimming up waterfalls. Totally nonchalantly. And hey, we're back here. And look at this. A lot of the ruin has been patched. A lot of what was broken is now fixed. I mean, that seems to make navigation harder. Except it doesn't actually. But, I mean, there was so much impactful, right? Down is up. Destruction is healing. But it just... It's so good. So much thoughtful use of destruction. Of, like, literally crumbling, right? Well, I mean, we are obsessed with the ruin in the 21st century, right? The ruin is perhaps the most iconic environment of human habitation, is that which used to be but no longer is. And we project that desire, I guess, is the word I would use for it. Or that fascination onto the past so often. Nope, still can't do it. We take a breath, and then we can't. And then, as we get close, it heals itself. I mean, firstly, it had a little bit of, you know, the nature has come back so beautiful. Look at how beautiful it is. But now it's actually starting to really... The thing that was broken is starting to become quite literally whole again. In this very, very spiritually resonant place. And, I mean, in the last stream, I talked a lot about kind of all the architecture feeling sacred. Right? This is in many ways a very sacred place. Oh, is that a hummingbird? Is that what that is? It totally is. Look at the way it flits around. Oh, no, sorry, it's not. It's a sort of like weird dragonfly with a light bulb on it. That's how it's moving more like a dragonfly than a hummingbird. Okay. But right, I mean, this is very non-European sacred architecture. Or actually, it being Spanish makes total freaking sense now. This is Andalusian. This is Umayyad Andalusian sacred architecture. Also, just aesthetic architecture. Palaces and mosques don't look that... They're different, but they're not that different. But it's leveraging all that sacred material. And then giving it weight and giving it respect. Oh, Spanish architecture is so good. Spain is one of the prettiest countries I've ever been to. I got to go to Cordova and Granada for a little while, and I've also spent some time in Madrid and around there. It's so pretty. But right, I was wondering, like, what architecture are they using? Because, you know, that's potentially something a bit weird. Because, uh, you know, using telling a story using iconography that is not yours without consent is not always great. Aw. Oh, wow. But hey, look. We're on a time cycle here? Because it does fade. Oh my god. But look, Lotus. It's now using lotuses as a main icon. Oh. But yeah, anyway, the thought there, I guess, is right. They're now using now that I know where the developers are from. Like the use of this particular architecture makes a whole lot more sense, and I think carries a lot more weight because, in a meaningful sense, right, Umayyad Andalusian architecture is a time gone, and a time that unfortunately was like forcibly destroyed, built upon, in some cases broken and then weirdly inserted into. The mosque in Cordova is weird. Right? The mosque in Cordova is incredibly weird because the local bishop in the mid 17th century decided it would be a brilliant idea to put a 17th century Baroque cathedral in the center of the 9th century, 10th century Umayyad mosque. Literally, like, knock a hole in the center of the colonnade and just drop it in. I'm sure that's fine. As it turns out, not super fine. And it causes some just weird things to happen. Right, honestly, like, chat, one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had in my life was in that mosque. Because, turns out an organ is not an instrument well suited to a colonnade. So, someone was just practicing the organ in there. Oh, music. You're so good. Anyway, someone was just practicing the organ there, using the cathedral's mosque. Or the cathedral's mosque. The cathedral's organ. And as long as I was in the cathedral part of the cathedral, it sounded totally fine. Out of curiosity, I walked into the older colonnade. It was, like, instantaneously bizarre. Utterly surreal experience. I don't recommend it. Right? One of those things that's more interesting to talk about than it is to actually experience, because, it's just disturbing. It's just a sound that does not have a place, and a sound that resonates really weirdly. And that's not the most fun to actually experience. Because I was just, like, uncomfortable for, like, an hour. Because it just didn't fit so much. So... the whole thing is actually just that disjointed, because you go from, like, dark, yellow, and black, columns, up to, suddenly, instantly, big, tall, like twice the height, just dropped in the center, doing a crazy thing. Does this actually go anywhere? I don't think this does. Okay. Anywho. Unless, of course, I can do this now. Hey! There we go. Problem solving. So I'm not sure what good that actually did me, but we did it. I mean, I'm pretty sure the answer is I'm supposed to do this. And then do this. Because spaces don't exist if we can't see them. Oh look, I now have another sacred place. He rainbow. They're like peacock swan things. I'm glad the birds are not bothered by me. That is chill of them. Anyway, I wonder though, you know, more than Cordova, if Granada isn't the better comparison. So, for people who aren't super familiar with Spanish history, in the middle of the 8th century, this, the Umayyad, the Umayyad Caliph in Damascus was ousted, and most of the family was slaughtered, except for one prince who, very hurriedly emigrated to Spain. Well, to Morocco originally. And then, in the 750s... Actually, I'm getting my date somewhat wrong. The conquest was earlier, in the 750s. And I think it's in the 780s that the Umayyad caliphs are, deposed. And so he simply moves to Spain. I think that's the most part of the story. When the Abbasids take over in the Middle East, the Umayyad Caliph goes to Spain and sets up shop there. And that persists into the 10th century, when repeated wars, conflict, and just general circumstances change, ends up meaning that a whole bunch of small kingdoms pop up instead, called the Taifa kingdoms. And over time, you know, they kind of fall apart, though. Cordova continues to be incredibly powerful. It was the Umayyad base. It continues to be very important. And I guess the last of the big ones, I would phrase it, is the... where is it? Is Granada. Where are they then? It's not Nasrids. Is it Nasrids? Islamic history is not my, strongest point. I'm okay at it, but I'm not great. Regardless, the Nasrids, or whoever's in Granada, continues to be really quite potent, into the 14th century, and they linger until 1492. And as part of the works that they did, the emir of Granada built the Alhambra, this huge palace that is one of the actual marvels of human engineering as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely staggering work of beauty. Okay, I've got to go up and then back down. Nope, that doesn't work. So. Up we go. Gotta go this way. Anyway, that palace, is just hard to describe because it's overwhelming in its everything. Oh, am I going to do this? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. How fancy is that? And so, anyway, the Alhambra really shows off a whole lot of kind of traditionally Islamic design, so huge focus on columns, really intricate work, and has massive gardens. Like, these things are enormous. And it's one of those enormous gardens that is, I guess, really what this reminds me of. Between all of the pools and all of the garden spaces that the Alhambra had. That's really, I think, a heavy source of inspiration for the design of this level. Thank you, KJ, for linking that. It is absolutely ridiculous. Actually, you know, it might be worth pulling up an example of one of the Alhambra gardens. Let's see. Right, here we go. Let me just download a couple of images here quick, to put them up on stream, just to show you the whole thing. And in the meantime, you get to listen to the best tunes. Nope, image. So here's one of the gardens. Right? You see why I want to make this comparison? Just on the color usage and the use of trailing plants. It just feels like there's a really strong parallel there, even though some of the specifics don't quite line up. And then here's one of the courtyards. Right, this is just a random courtyard. Well, random. One of the most famous courtyards in the entirety of the thing. Oh, and hi Tina, I'm glad you can make it. Right, so if we compare these to sort of the... Sorry chat, I'm going to cover you up. You'll be back in a moment. I just want to wander around and compare these. Right, are you seeing where I'm getting this sort of vibe of comparison from? I mean, it is incredibly beautiful at the best of, or at the worst of times, I should say. Right? And you guys, you know, kind of should feel free to disagree with me if you're not seeing it, but... It's not one-to-one, but the aesthetic design is there, and, I mean, it's thinking about incredibly high status, incredibly expensive. Look at those birds. The fanciest birds. Anyway, I think that's enough to get the sense of it, so I'm going to pull the images off so I can read chat again. they I there are a lot of emotions right now, and putting them towards is somewhat difficult. Right? I mean, actually, that makes the windmills make a little bit sense if we're thinking North African. I mean, firstly, right, the southern half of Spain is not particularly fertile. It's all a highland plateau, which means that it can get rather deserty. And there's a certain really, like, pointedly, markedly famous Spanish character who is well known for interacting with windmills. Right, so that might have been I guess, not really extended, but present Cervantes reference, which would be very neat. Yeah, Don Quixote. So, right, certainly none of what we've seen is actually incompatible with Spanish or North African spaces. I mean, obviously, right, there's impossible physics. But they clearly, I think, are drawing from different parts of their homeland to make this. And, I mean, if anything's clear, I think it's clear that they really, really love it. And, I mean, who can blame them? Look at just how thoughtful they're being. With use of symmetry and asymmetry, and the use of the moon as a guiding, like, point and space. Like, you know how rad that is? This is one of just the most surreally impressive levels I've ever played in a video game. Right? It's not that the gimmick of reversing gravity is all that impressive, or all that... Like, it's not like no one has ever done that before, but they are executing it within a cultural space that really values symmetry, and that really values artistic ornamentation. Just masterfully. Look at this, we can just, like, jump. Well, with that, I'd have to do the whole thing again. Huzzah! Just... Regrettably, right, I'm not familiar enough with, for lack of a better word... Nope. Well, that didn't work. Sort of Andalusian, folk tales and cultural attitudes towards... I mean, lots of the themes that are going on in this game with the aquatic beings, turtles, eels, apart from them looking spooky as hell. Specifically morays. I just did it again. This might take a couple tries if I'm trying to keep talking. And swallows. In order to know if those, right, is part of the significance of those forms due to a cultural reference that I'm not familiar with? I feel like the answer is definitely plausibly. Damn it. One more try. We'll pretend I'm doing this intentionally so you can just listen to the music more. What am I missing here? I very much feel like I am missing something. Because it doesn't look like I can actually control the speed at which I fall through. There we go. I was just being bad. You love when that happens. It's huge. I love it. Oh. Boom. And we fall back through the lotuses into here. So let's see what power we get now. A diamond with a square. Again, more geometric shapes, which make a whole lot more sense. Of constantly... A circle inscribed in a square, inscribed in a diamond, inscribed in a circle. We can now sing. Look at it. Their voice is so haunting. Right, I'm not a professional musician. My certainly knowledge of what does and does not make great singing is limited. But my impression is that, right, this is not technically... Oh. Well, we lack the stars. Darn, we'll have to go see what else we can do. Spend more time in this beautiful, beautiful everything. I'm so disappointed. Because now that we have a new power, maybe if we sing in the right spot, we'll do a lot more than just create a new open flower there. Anyway, my understanding and impression is that this is not, by any metric, I guess, certainly not professional singing, and in some ways, is not even technically all that impressive as singing, but has a certain timbre to it that means that doesn't matter at all, right? It doesn't matter that the voice is not professional. It's not particularly trained. It's not perfectly controlled. But that gives us a real emotional weight to it that just works. It just works. As you said, Valve, like, haunting is a good word for it. I would say haunting because of, not in spite of, its timbre and or imperfections. Exactly, that's by no means a criticism, it's just an interesting thing. Oh, we get more shinies. Oh. Suppose I should move with some vigor. We should be fine. Is that still fading out? That is still fading out. Well, this is gonna be exciting. Look at all of this. Then we roll over the top there, and what do we get? More singing. Interesting. Okay, so then I need to go up here to turn that. And if as long as I'm careful, I cannot hit the button fast enough again. Ooh! Oh, come on, I hit that button on time. Boo. Once more with feeling. There we go. I was hitting the button too fast, chat. That was the problem. Oh my god. Actual nebula. Into the wide blue yonder. God, it just... It's such an interesting thing, right? Because this game uses... I mean, all throughout, we've had this very impressionistic color. And the impressionistic color has now kind of resolved itself, right? I wouldn't describe this as impressionist anymore. It's just not... no longer the right term. But what it resolved itself into is just raw, creative, spiritual force. Because, I mean, ultimately, right, nebulas are breathtaking. But I don't know how else I would describe... If you had to actually describe one as to what it does and is... I don't know if I have a better description than just... creation. Because it's all of the gases and materials that haven't turned into anything, just potentiality itself. I mean, that's just cool as hell. So where are we at on this? Yeah, basically, Pillars of Creation, right? And then it's being combined with the Lotus. Oh, we are a short one. Well, that's awkward. Let's see if we can't find that one. Well, there are paths yet to walk up here. Anyway, so it's being combined with the Lotus, which I don't actually know, what, if any, sacrality is attached to the Lotus. Well, actually, scratch that. That's obviously untrue. Buddhism. Literally like the Lotus position. Literally, obviously untrue. A professional historian here, folks. Forgot that the basic meditative posture in Buddhism is called the Lotus. Yeah, should sing that. Oh my god. So, anyway, sacred flowers with sacred non-European, or non-Christian, I guess is a better way to say that the Umayyads weren't European is disingenuous. Hang on, I need to thank the friend. Hello, friend. Thank you. Mwah. So, yeah, I don't know. Lots of layers of sacrality and sublimity being attached onto each other here, and it's just... It's so good. Sacred flowers, sacred architecture, extremely stylized geometric shapes, and then on top of everything, you end up with a whole... Oh, if I am right on the edge there, does it turn into a perfectly... It almost does. Doesn't quite do it. Darn. Anyway. I enjoy this more than I have words to describe. And so right about... It sounds like I'm struggling to talk more than usual. As if that's possible. That's because I am. Because, I mean, how... I think the point of this part of the game is to make words fail. Because it's not a vocalized or vocalizable experience. That's good, right? That's not a thing I have complaints about. As long as you're enjoying listening to pretty music, and my voice on top of that. Oh, definitely. Like, KJ, you're right. Incredibly interesting that this is the moment at which song happens. The game seems very persuaded that there is something generative, in a very meaningful sense, about singing. I mean, this is not a... I don't think you can justly say that this is a new idea. I mean, Holst, I think, had exactly the same one. But it is absolutely an interesting one. Oh good, now they just line up. Right, the music of the spheres is tapping into a very similar impulse, and I think this game is very aware of Holst and the planets. And is not riffing on it per se, but also not riffing on it. Right, a sublimity of space and spatiality with music has been around for a while, and this is just doing the same thing. Because if we just listen for a moment. There is a music there. Then again, what I don't know is whether the music is the music of the... Okay, yeah, the music is the music of the stars that we're picking up, and we are literally picking up stars. I'm not entirely sure why, but that's what we're doing, so we'll roll with it. And so now it goes into this super synth, like, sci-fi vibe. God. Right. I love thinking about this in terms of, like, the sublime as meaningful imagery. Which, I mean, I think should be obvious that that's what this is. Right. Sublimity. Aw, look at the ibises. Anyway. Right, the sublime as a concept is so hard to pin down because it's just really complicated. To be honest. It's one of those things you feel more than you necessarily have words for. But this game is really trying to construct sublimity as something that both makes you feel small and makes you feel large. Right, one of the classic things of sublimity, or examples of the sublime that people use that I actually don't like, is the idea that it is, I guess, there's a thing there. Anyway, the thing that I don't like is kind of the idea that one of these examples of something sublime is staring up at the sky at night when there's truly no light pollution. That's not an experience a lot of people get. I'm very fortunate in that I get it fairly regularly. But it inspires a lot of very cliche comments. Not to be mean, because, you know, it's trying to put words to something that words can't be put to. But in the same breath, it does end up being just a little bit sort of cliche. Just, wow, really makes you think about how small we are, huh? Actually, the reason I don't like that as an example of the sublime is that in my estimation, right, the sublime should make you feel large as much as it makes you feel small. To know that you are surrounded by something that is just so much, so literally, physically, perpetually present, is scary, but not. At least to me. And I won't speak for other people's experience, but I've never thought that this is supposed to be terrifying. Spectacular and unique and powerful, but doesn't make me feel insignificant. I don't feel like that's what the term sublime really is trying to reference. But regardless, right, this game, however you want to define the sublime, this game sure nails it. And we fell out of there again. We're back where we were. Right? We just fell out of this palace as the world spun around us. To move on to the end. Well, I scuffed that. Yeah, that animation. And so, despite it all, I think it's safe to say we still haven't, won. I think we're in a lot of trouble. And once again, we've gone back to a state of total ruin. Almost unrecognizable levels of ruin. Also, the grief and the statues are the same person. Which is not a surprising reveal, but a very big one. And yeah. Oh, something I do super like, right, is that Oblivion is just like spilled ink and water. Right, that's the quality of this. This is ink floating in water. It's so good. Purely, almost purely, black and white. Huh. I just unlocked an achievement. The achievement's name is Acceptance. Because there are statues throughout the world. We've missed all but one of them, I think. No, all but two of them. Of the previous four, we found the first one and like the second one, I think. I missed all the rest. For the 5 stages of grief in traditional psychology. But now, right, the woman is not tortured. She's not carrying anything. Right, we're now gone to incredibly Christian burial iconography. Right, I mean, this is your standard laid in repose for a not exclusively or explicitly Christian, but, you know, within the context of the cultures that we are most familiar with, I think, right, identifying that as religious at rest, rather than religious rather than all the iconography of carrying a burden, is very, very correct. And, you know, well, I say acceptance, still is a lot of trauma here. And trauma is colorless. I love that. Right, this just so thoughtful in its construction of sacrality, so thoughtful in its construction of the opposite of that, and framing it as not light and dark, but color and lack thereof, is just so psychologically good and so symbolically good. Luckily, we still have generative power. This fucking game, guys. This is my 3rd time playing this game. I have cried literally every single time I've played this game. By the way, a really interesting thing that it did when it showed us all the other levels. Remember, right at the beginning of last words, please work. At the beginning of last stream of this, when I saw like the solo red and the things I identified, you know, were mountains, but were evocative of pyramids. When it was just like red in a desert, these big triangular shapes have to be pyramids, places of death. And then it immediately recontextualized those. At the very end of the game, to be very obviously a mountain, blue, with a massive tree growing in front of it. And that's just one of the teeny tiny things this game does that is just so unspeakably good. So, that was GRIS. And if you like this, please go buy this game. That would be my request. Don't go, like... If you have cash to spare for this one, don't give it to me. Go give it to Namada Studios, because holy crap, they made a video game. Ah. Fuck. I mean, I can't say enough good things. They're so careful with their symbolism. And again, I still feel like there are references that I'm not getting, cultural significances, whether that's swallows as psychopomps or something, that I'm not totally getting, but yeah. From the architecture use to the animals, the use of physics and space and the deconstruction thereof, color, sound, all of the little tiny bits of historical references means it's constantly shifting and growing, right? Going from kind of impressionist life and little side adventure stories through those really, really beautiful cave systems and becoming more defined, but more awe-inspiring instead of less. As it loses its impressionistic quality, it gains sublimity. Things become clearer, but as the picture sharpens, still just more. And that was, I mean, 4 hours. It took us 4 hours to play that game. And we didn't see everything there was to see, not quite. We didn't get all the little shiny circles. And there's a lot of meanings that I don't think we managed to unpack in this. And the ways that they intersect with the story being told, but I think any way you slice it, this game has an incredible set of parts. And when they're all put together, it surpasses all of them. Yeah, I've never met someone who knew about this game who doesn't love this game. Right, Raptors? They made one of my personal favorites, right? I like a lot of games. This one tops the list. Ooh. That would be really interesting, KJ. Right? If we are thinking of it in terms of uh right, if the Old Kingdom look at these. Swallows as a psychopomp in Old Kingdom Egypt, then that is bringing in much, much older source. And, you know, I mentioned at the beginning, or I just mentioned recently too, pyramids. I think there's a lot to be said for just how artfully they're blending folktales and very surrealist experiences and impressionism and Umayyad and Andalusian architecture and nebulae and all of that is being added together. I adore this game, and I mean, right, the comparison gets made a lot to Journey. Understandably, I think we made it too. It should be clear this is a very different game than Journey is. And I won't put one above the other, but for me, they have very different emotional moods. Right, Journey isn't a game I play when I'm sad. This very much is a game I play when I'm sad. Aww, look at them. Hey, look. Hey, look. The original design has denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance in the colors of her cloak. I'm glad they didn't go for that. It looks honestly a bit over-designed, but still a really cool idea. Right, luckily, you know, yeah, dialogueless game, made by indie team, with protagonist wearing shawl. It's such a loose definition of anything that there's a lot of room to make a different game out of it, which is awesome. Oh, look at how cute they are. Look at how cute everyone is. And the absolute crazy work with this. What you wanna... Aw. Yeah, these are... We just unlock a bunch of concept art and design docs from the game, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Oh, look, this is the whole game space. Also, we have a music menu. For just some unused music. Avalanche, birds, frequency, intermezzo, slide, underwater, a wood machine. Aw. Anyway. So I think that wraps up the stream. We can reset the game basically to various points. But we're not going to hop back into it because I think the ending needs to stand on its own. Also, it's, you know, an incredible ending, but also an emotionally exhausting ending. In a good way. So, I hope you all enjoyed. As I said, if you like this, please go buy GRIS and let Nomada Studios know that you like it, because they deserve all the love you can give them. On Saturday is going to be the finale of the main story of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That'll be at the usual time, 11 AM Central Time. This isn't one you'll want to miss. Things go crazy. Things go very crazy, and I'll try and be summing up, you know, the brief rundown of how I think the game does history, and what that game thinks it means to be historical. Some of the things remind us of some of the things I like about the game, some of the other things about the game, and then put it all together as we try and finish that off. After that, I'll only be playing DLCs on stream. So, I hope you all join me for that, but yeah, this was GRIS, and I hope you all have a lovely rest of your evening.